Perfect. Thanks a lot, and good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me and see me. Everything fine?
Yeah, it's okay. We can
Great.
see you. Thank you.
Perfect. So I'm really pleased to be here and looking forward to give you an idea of some of the challenges, but also opportunities of eSIM and eSIM technology in the context of 5G. Of course, big thank you to Barbara, who mentioned already eSIM in the 5G context from the GSMA side. Of course, a lot of what we are doing as Comprion is based on the work which is done in the GSMA on eSIM. That's our foundation. 2 sentences about my company. Comprion, we are a specialized company in tools and test solutions for the mobile industry, for mobile devices. And one of our focus areas is everything around the SIM card in the former times and eSIM nowadays. So this is where we are coming from. So let's talk about eSIM. What's changing with eSIM? Most people think about the same parameters and the same logic compared to the past time when the SIM form factor changed from the big SIM cards to the smaller SIM cards. Of course, this was also true for the eSIM. However, all these changes in the physical form factor, that's not really the game changer here. And that's not the most important thing with eSIM. So the move from the smallest SIM card previously to eSIM is different. eSIM is really about digitization, and that's really the game changer. So what eSIM allows the operators and other companies in the industry is, first of all, fully digitized business processes. So this in particular regards to operators, for example, customer and service provisioning. There's a huge efficiency gain for the operators, but also significantly improved customer experience. Furthermore, what we see already in the market, it offers new business models. What you can see live already is something like tariff marketplaces, fully virtualized and digital MVNOs purely based on eSIM, device manufacturers selling not just hardware, but also hardware with connectivity in bundles. And very important is for the operators in particular, the eSIM configures many of the features of the communication services, of the communication products of the operators. And this regards also some of the most interesting 5G features like network slicing, like enhanced customer privacy, the SUCI calculation, the encryption there, and other features. So for operators, leveraging the eSIM and the data on the eSIM, which is called the eSIM profile, this is about new products, this is about cost optimization, and this is about improved customer experience. And this is why the eSIM and the eSIM profile is so important for operators. And last but not least, of course, also for the customers, it adds a lot of flexibility for customers. Means customers can easily change from one operator to another operator. And this even holds true for massive deployments of machine-to-machine devices. So let's look at some of the topics which I would like to highlight today in terms of what you need to look at when thinking about eSIM and the relationship of eSIM for your business. I want to highlight 2 aspects. Of course, there are more, but the time is limited. So the first one is we want, and probably you want, to remain able to test the EU-ICC and the EU-ICC-driven mobile device behavior in the network. So, of course, just because the form factor and the technical implementation of the SIM card is changing, that should remain. And you, with your business, want to be sure that everything is working properly, same as it has been tested before in the SIM world. And second point I want to highlight is, as mentioned, the eSIM and the eSIM profile, the configuration data on the eSIM is so important for the products which operators can deploy. It is about facilitating all kinds of operators, so classical operators, virtual operators, but also M2M connectivity providers, private and campus network providers, to control all the features of the communication service by controlling the eSIM and the eSIM profile. Means in particular taking the stake in the eSIM profile creation and its validation. So let's look at these 2 topics. then let's start with the testing one. That's an interesting one, and this is one of the focus areas of our companies. So what is changing? What we cannot do anymore, which you see on the left-hand side, is we cannot just plug in a test sim into a device anymore to connect it to a test environment, to a network simulator, for example, because in an eSIM-only device, there is no eSIM slot anymore. Barbara talked about remote SIM provisioning. That's the new mechanism. But there are differences if it comes to test profiles. Secondly, there is no interception anymore of the connection between the SIM and the device because there is no link anymore. The eSIM is a chip, it's soldered into the device, and it's not possible to track the communication on the physical level between this chip and the device anymore. And thirdly, because the eSIM is soldered, we cannot substitute it, the eSIM, by a simulation to ingest error conditions for testing scenarios. So all this is not possible anymore. And the question is how we can maintain the ability to test. The first element addresses the substitute of plugging in a test sim into a device. So of course, what we can do is we can engineer eSIM test profiles, the data for the eSIM, which is equivalent to former eSIM test cards. So that's possible. The GSMA provides even standardized test profiles for the eSIM. Companies like us, we provide eSIM profiles which are equivalent to the test USCCs we provided in former times. But there are some challenges to load these profiles onto devices. That's a topic in itself. Let me just mention, you need to divide whether it's a machine-to-machine device or a consumer device because the remote SIM provision mechanisms differ. And also, you need to differentiate whether it is a commercial-grade device with a fully fledged commercial-grade security level, or if it's a test device which has not yet all the security configurations on. And this determines which mechanisms and which tool or services you need to load a test profile on the device. And there are multiple scenarios. And for all the scenarios, you need different services and different tools. So there is a complexity. The good message is, for most scenarios, that can be solved. As said, because of lack of time, I don't want to drill deep into this. But if you're interested in this, let's talk afterwards or contact me on the chat or via LinkedIn, whatever you want. The second box is about really the testing. And the industry is discussing at the moment about new and different test methodologies. And there is no conclusion yet and no agreement yet. The discussion happens in the 3GPP industry organization. And there are different opinions from different parties at the moment. And you see there are three options which are under discussions right now. My main message is that, yes, it is possible with new test methodologies to still do a comparable testing to what we have done before for the device conformance testing, for the certification, for example. But at the moment, it's a difficult discussion to agree on something which potentially also can be standardized for the testing. And it's not clear where this is going to end up. So Comprion is part of these discussions. We are working in 3GPP. We are working with all the players. And even we had already some proof of concepts of the different testing methodologies, which you could have seen during Mobile World Congress in Barcelona a few weeks ago. So we are working on this. I think we are leading edge. And also we are looking forward where this is going and what test methodology will be selected and hopefully agreed by the companies. Yeah. As said, messages, it's possible, but there's no decision yet which way to go for. Okay, let's talk about the eSIM profile and how to control the eSIM profile. First of all, you need to, if you're an operator, an MVNO, an M2M connectivity provider, for example, and you've recognized that you want to be somehow in control and have some stakes in the eSIM profile engineering, because it's so important for your business, it's so important for the products, for the product characteristics, then of course you need to check what is your supply chain for the eSIM profile and for the remote SIM provisioning mechanism. And you need to ensure that your supply chain is supporting you in having access and being part of eSIM profile engineering, or at least having visibility. So if you're an operator, a mobile network operator, it's pretty simple. You will have a remote eSIM provisioning backend service provider. You will have a contract with this company. And it's, in the meantime, not unusual and becoming more and more common to have access to the eSIM profile. If you're a virtual operator, then you need to talk to your host's mobile network operator, whether they give you access to the profile. And sometimes even you have own profiles on the operator networks and an own remote eSIM provisioning backend service provider. So all this is possible. All this is more and more common. And all this allows you, and is of course a prerequisite, to have control of the eSIM profile yourself. And then you need to define, of course, your position. Is it just about to have visibility of the eSIM profile, what is in, what a supplier puts in the profile? Is it that you want to be part of the engineering, partly or entirely? Or is it just that you want to do the validation and the testing to ensure that what a supplier promised you is in the profile is really the case? So that's up to you. You need to define what you want. And then the good message is, it's not just that in the meantime the supply chain is open to facilitate you in being part of this. Also, the tools are available in the meantime. And I put on the slide here a tool chain based on our Comprion products. Starting on the left-hand side on the journey, when you start to work on the profile until you launch the profile potentially. So there are tools which allows you to create, update, modify, validate a profile, or just have the visibility of what's in the profile. And these tools in the meantime are quite comfortable, means they convert something in the bits and bytes into something which is human readable, where the semantic of the content is interpreted and explained. Means you don't need to be a deep expert in SIM technology and a deep expert in the bits and bytes of the eSIM profile in order to be able to read, to understand the eSIM profile, and in order to make changes in the eSIM profile. That's the important message. And this is different also to the past in the SIM environment, where to a large extent the SIM profile, the SIM data was engineered behind closed doors by the SIM manufacturers. So then there are tools to load the profile onto either test devices or test eICCs in separation, so either in the device or in isolation. And there are tools available which emulate a network so that you can run the eICC or an emulated device based on an eICC, or even a full test device against an emulated network. And then you can check whether the communication behavior within the network is as expected based on the eSIM and the profile configuration. Or you load it even onto a commercial off-the-shelf device and then test it against the test network of an operator, or even you test it against a live production network of an operator. So all this is possible. Means with this tool chain, in combination with the prerequisites of your supply chain, it's possible to be part of the eSIM profile engineering, or at least the validation. And that's what you should consider because it's related to your business. So I think it's important that you understand and you think through what is the relationship of the eSIM to your business and what level of control do you need, and then put the prerequisites into place. With this, I already come to my last slide. So just a summary, as said, the eSIM is a business enabler. It's not yet another technology as it was in the former times when the physical form factor was just shrinking. The testing is still important and essential because you still want to have proper devices which behave properly in your networks. For this, you need to be able to load test profiles onto eSIMs and eSIM devices, which is possible. And there are test methodologies which are under development, but not yet agreed. So that's good. And on the eSIM profile creation validation side, again, the industry and the ecosystem has changed. This is not happening behind closed doors anymore. More and more, if you're an operator or any kind of a communication service provider, it is possible for you from a supply chain perspective and from a tool perspective to be part of this and to define what part of you want to play in this. And it's possible to do this then. So having said this, I want to close my presentation. So thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Marcus, for this presentation. Sorry, maybe I disrupt you. You wanted to add something? No, that's fine. Thank you so much for this presentation. I have many questions for you, but I will not, unfortunately, able to ask all the questions. I will take only one from Ninad Milosevic about where eSIM is currently used in majority.
Yeah. So it's used in majority in the premium smartphones, of course, and in watches, because the watches, this is where it's important for the form factor. And of course, it's more and more and really strongly coming in all the IoT devices, because for IoT, it's terribly important. Yeah, it will take some time until you see it in the low price smartphone area, but it will come.
Okay, thank you so much. If you can, be so kind to answer to all the questions in the chat, because I will be able to go through them. It will be really helpful. Thank you, Marcus.